This is two questions, but I'll answer the first one very quickly. This person's asking about mattresses with metal coils. Not a good idea. No metal coils, because radiation resonates with it and re-radiates into your body. When you sleep at night, you want total rest. The second part of the question is we also have our home hardwired with Cat5 cable. How do I block harmful wireless signals that run through my home?
If you have wireless signals in your home, depending on exactly where they're coming from, if they're coming from outside your home, there's ways that you can shield them. There's a film you can put on your windows that will reflect 80 to 90% of the radiation. There's fabric that's lined with silver that will reflect the same thing. You can use it as a curtain. People who have developed extreme electro-hypersensitivity use it as a canopy around their bed, including covering the bottom of your bed so that you're basically in a Faraday cage, and that allows you to minimize your exposure. Some people even wear clothing that is made of the same type of material. I've tested the clothing. Some of it is phenomenally effective at blocking radiation, and so you can have underwear, so that way if you keep your cell phone in a hip pocket, at least it's not going through and affecting your reproductive organs. So there's a lot of things you can do, but the best thing is to avoid the exposure in the first place.
Rusty Miller from the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council, that's near where I grew up, asks, why is this limited just to schools and not residential areas? Regulations are being adopted by the city of Burbank outline residential areas.
But it's not limited to just schools. I mean, obviously, you know, when I was speaking about schools not using wireless technology, that applies to your home as well. The reason I'm so interested in schools is because you can clean up an environment for a lot of children, and you can make a big difference that they don't have a choice about. When it comes to your home, you've got that choice, and obviously if you care about it, you will clean it up.
Are you Rusty Miller?
Yeah, I'm Rusty Miller, chair of the Silver Lake Neighborhood Council, and we've had a couple instances of being able to stop a couple of cell phone towers, and going in neighborhoods, mine included, not all the time, but anyways. But I think one of the issues here that, you know, some of you folks are, you know, we're listening about, you know, I shouldn't put this in my pocket, so I won't have any more kids and things like that. But how do we stop the cell phone towers from coming into neighborhoods is really the larger issue to address a lot of the things, and you've given out some great information, but I can tell you, the city of Los Angeles issues the permits. So anybody in this room that lives in the city of LA should be contacting their neighborhood council, work with them, the grassroots, to oppose these things, and also with your city council members. I don't know where everybody lives here. I know you live down the south side, one of the empowerment conferences, I think.
Harbor Gateway.
Harbor Gateway. And this lady's been real active in the neighborhood council system along with myself. You guys got to go after the city council members in this town, and because like Silver Lake is 45,000 people, Woodland Hills Corner Center is 50, 60,000, Harbor Gateway is X number, da 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 da. You get a whole bunch of them all together in your council districts, you can go after Dennis Zine or you know, whoever it is, and make it very uncomfortable for them, because the cell phone people, as you know, have lots of money, and they give to council members to stop stuff, like those yo-yos that gave to stop the plastic bag thing a couple nights ago in Sacramento. So, you know, I appreciate you're trying to control this, but nonetheless, we want to know what you can do to stop it, because this information's been great, and Elizabeth, also from my board, and I are, you know, we've been really active in trying to stop these things. But the things you guys can do here is you go after your neighborhood councils to take positions, and you go after Dennis Zine and whoever is your city council member, and you make things really uncomfortable for them and why they're approving, because they're just like princes. They say yes because they get the donations from T-Mobile and everybody else. I'm sorry, but you know,
I think we get it, Rusty. Yeah. I have been battling antennas myself for 14 years, yeah. One by one by one by one. The fix is the federal law. Yeah. If we can get 704 repealed and restore local control, when you go before these city council people, they say, my hands are tied. Please release me. Let me go. There's a federal law. You know, help me change it. I can't do anything. And you know what? They're right. But we need the grassroots.
Yeah.
I'll take your question, but we really need to stick with
I
the
just
question.
want to say that they're not right. There are things that the local governments can do. They can regulate. For example, is there a gap in service? The
Right.
telecoms have to prove that there's a gap in service. Is this the least intrusive site? The telecoms are supposed to prove that this is the least intrusive site. A lot of times the city councils don't hold the telecoms feet to the fire. But even without the FCC law being repealed, which I desperately hope it is, there are things that city councils can do if they have the courage to do it.
Right. Okay. No. Technically speaking, there's many things you can do to stall or keep an antenna someplace. But don't forget, they have backup plans for backup plans. This industry. If you win there, you better believe it's going to move down those 2 blocks. Because they have to fill out their network, so they are relentless. And so, you know, it's like water. They just keep filling the jug. Pour it out, they pour it in. Thank you for your comments. I know, I'm really glad, you know, that you're here and you're passionate about this because we need that. I wonder how much research has been done investigating the relationship between the increase in autism and the cell phones, ultrasound by electromagnetic waves. Where can I find it? I work with special education students.
There's only one small study that hasn't been published that I'm aware of, looking at autism and the mother's electromagnetic environment in the bedroom. And it's something that needs to be repeated and with much better control. So right now it's really hard to say what the relationship between autism is and electromagnetic exposure. I know mercury plays a very important role in autism, and some of the vaccines have mercury in them. And so that's a neurotoxin. So there's all sorts of things that we know about that. You can comment afterwards if you'd like to. So autism is something that we have to investigate the relationship, but there's been very little work done on that so far that I'm aware of.
We have Wi-Fi, cell phones, cordless phones, baby monitors, Bluetooth headsets, wired headsets, and laptops in our home. Where do I begin? Can you please enumerate what are the biggest threats? I would like help prioritizing in my own home.
What I tell people is if they want to reduce their exposure, I say get rid of energy-efficient light bulbs. They're making people sick. Go back to the incandescents and stock up on them because of you're not going to be able to use them after a while. I tell them to get rid of their cordless phones, especially if it's the more modern kind of cordless phone. Just have wired phones all over your house. That's what I have. I tell them to get rid of their wireless Wi-Fi in the home, wireless technology. If you have to have it, then turn it off at night. And indeed, if you think you're electrically sensitive, one of the best things you can do to find out is turn off the electricity to your home at night. Just keep your fridge and freezer on. Turn everything else off. And if you sleep well that night, then chances are you're electrically sensitive because you've simply made your environment that much cleaner. And if it's coming from other places, then it's harder to do if it's coming from neighbors, for example, but you can do a little bit of shielding there as well. So lights, cordless phones, and your wireless technology for your computer.
I'm combining 2 questions that are parallel here. Is there a difference between what's happening with the Collingwood School in Ontario with their Wi-Fi system and other systems? And does Los Angeles City School District have Wi-Fi?
We don't know what system they have in Collingwood. None of the schools will allow us inside to do any kind of monitoring. They won't even tell the parents when the Wi-Fi was turned on. They have to go through freedom of information. The school boards are very frightened of this information because they've gone ahead and they're worried about lawsuits, so they won't allow anyone to go in. Even parents can't go in and do any kind of monitoring in these schools. I know that one of the reasons that I was hoping to do down here was to show some of the people in the Los Angeles School Board how to do monitoring so that you can monitor your own school. And we were turned down. Initially, we were setting this up so that we can show them how to do it, and we were turned down. We're not allowed to go into any of the schools. So we just don't have the information on the schools at all.
I worked for 4 months with somebody in LAUSD to set this up, because I worked with Julie Kornstein for 10 years on this issue, and she represented this area. And I know Julie cares, but she's retired now. And after 4 months, I gave up. I was told you're going to panic the parents if you come and educate. We don't want you on school property. There's a liability concern. So I told them, okay, we'll let you know when we're meeting, and we hope you come. You know? What is the best way to influence new FCC guidelines on electromagnetic radiation?
It's yours.
We answered that, I hope you know. In the court of public opinion, as in a court of law, in order for an informed decision to be reached, shouldn't all sides be given a chance to be heard? Where is the FCC tonight as representatives of the cell phone carriers? Regardless of the quality of your presentation, it is in the end only one-sided.
You know, one of the reasons I think the public is so confused about this is the media has a responsibility to present both sides of an issue, even if, you know, the information is overwhelmingly in favor of one side. And so I think the public is extremely frustrated thinking that scientists can't agree about this. If you look at any of the studies that have been done, it's very important to find out who funds those studies, because the results depend on the funding agency. I mean, this has been documented in scientific reports. So basically follow the money. If there's anyone here from FCC, from the industry, and they'd like to make some comments, I'm very open to that. I'm very open to having any kind of debate. I really believe all sides need to be heard. But, you know, and whoever wrote that might be representing the industry, so I'd welcome you to say whatever you'd like to say here. Okay.
Okay. What are your thoughts on phone services in cars, such as OnStar? Dangerous?
I haven't measured them, so I'm afraid I can't say. Sorry.
How does it affect fibromyalgia, Hashimoto's, and MS?
Fibromyalgia is one of the symptoms of electrohypersensitivity. Chronic fatigue, chronic pain are some of the symptoms. MS, we've done a little bit of work with people who have multiple sclerosis, and while we didn't look at wireless technology, we looked at the effects of something called power quality, and there's a very strong relationship between the two in the sense that individuals who are exposed to poor power quality, their symptoms tend to get a lot worse. And if you clean up their electromagnetic environments, for some people with MS, their symptoms diminish. And what was the last one?
Hashimoto's MS?
Hashimoto's
disease?
I don't know what Hashimoto's disease. Oh, thyroid. Okay. The thyroid gland is extremely sensitive to both ionizing and non-ionizing radiation. And one of the things we're finding is that you get hypothyroidism from people who are exposed to this. So the thyroid and the pituitary glands are very, very sensitive.